I'm guessing you here because you saw the title of this video, or maybe because you love stories about the origins of everything. Either way, today I want to talk about the story of Cain and Abel, the very first murder, and try to teach you some lessons about life through it. And if you like this video, make sure you watch all the way to the end, because I'll have some other really cool videos for you to watch. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, the story of Cain and Abel comes from the second chapter of the book of Genesis, the second chapter of the Bible, where we meet the two sons of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. Both of them were farmers and shepherds, but they had different interests. Cain focused on agriculture, taking care of plants and raising crops, and Abel focused on animal husbandry, basically taking care of sheep and stuff. Now, back then, people used to sacrifice animals and plants to God as a way of saying thank you for what they had. So one day, each of them prepared a gift for God, and honestly, they both did a pretty good job. Cain offered some of the fruits of his field, which is kind of romantic, and Abel offered some of the firstborn lambs from his flock, like the best of the best. So when God came to check out their gifts, he was super happy with Abel's, but he wasn't really feeling Cain's. So you're probably wondering why, right? Like, what's the big deal? God didn't even like the gift that Cain put so much work into. Well, think about this. Let's say you spent weeks planning and preparing a really cool presentation for your boss and you put your heart and soul into it, right? But then there's this other guy, your coworker. Let's call him Abel, who just showed up with like a 5-minute PowerPoint presentation, and your boss loved it. You'd probably feel a bit jealous and maybe a little insulted, right? You'd be like, wait, I worked so hard and God didn't even acknowledge it. And that's exactly how Cain felt. But the problem is that Cain's reaction to God ignoring his gift wasn't very godly, right? I mean, it's normal to feel bad when you think you're being treated unfairly, but Cain took it to another level. His feelings turned into resentment and anger, but not against Abel, against God. And that's when things got really messy. The Bible says that God came to Cain and asked him, "Why are you so mad? Why are you throwing a tantrum? Do the right thing and you'll be accepted. Don't do the right thing and you're on your own." And this conversation is super important because it reveals a crucial part of the story and actually life in general. God told Cain that he had a choice. He could either decide to change his behavior and be accepted by God, or he could stick with his bad attitude and face the consequences. But remember, God isn't like some genie in a bottle. He doesn't do stuff just because someone gets mad. No, he has his own plans and purposes. And Cain messed up big time by choosing the wrong path. The Bible says that after that chat with God, Cain got all jealous and angry again, went out into the field, called Abel over, and boom, stabbed him and killed him. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, so Cain murdered his brother. It's messed up. But look closer. Cain didn't kill Abel because of something Abel did or didn't do. No, he killed him because of his own jealousy and anger towards God. In other words, Cain took out his frustration on Abel, which is not only wrong, it's tragic. Think about this. If you're stressed or frustrated at work, do you yell at your kids or break things around the house? No, right? Can't take your bad vibes out on innocent people. But that's what Cain did. It's like, screw you, God. I'm going to screw everyone else over too. Now, obviously, killing someone is a huge deal, not just morally, but in terms of the consequences, right? Like, how could Cain just get away with murder? Well, God wasn't happy about it, of course, but he didn't react with anger. Instead, he acted with justice and also a bit of mercy. The Bible says that God asked Cain, "Where's your brother Abel?" Cain was like, "I don't know. Is it my job to keep track of where he goes?" Now, notice how Cain doesn't show any remorse or guilt. He's just being a jerk. But God didn't blow up or punish him right away. Instead, he knew that Cain would need more help to understand what he had done and how to move forward. God explained to Cain that Abel's blood was crying out to him from the ground, basically meaning that even though Abel was dead, his life had value, and God wanted Cain to acknowledge that. Then God said, "The ground where your brother's blood was spilled has been cursed because of you. When you work the land, it won't produce enough food for you. You'll be a restless wanderer, always looking for peace but never finding it." And that's exactly what happened. Cain left that place and wandered around the earth, never settling down. The story ends with Cain running away and God putting a curse on the ground. So what's the point of this story? What does it mean for us today? Well, the first lesson we can learn from this story is that God cares about how we do things, not just the results. In other words, it's not just about the outcome. It's also about the process and our attitude. And that's why he accepted Abel's offering but not Cain's. Abel understood this. He knew that the most important part was to give thanks and praise to God, but Cain, well, he just saw it as a chore or maybe a competition. Lesson no. 2. God gives us chances, but we can't keep messing up forever. Think about it. After God talked to Cain about his anger, he gave him another chance to do the right thing. But instead of taking that chance, Cain blew it and ended up killing Abel. And yes, God did punish Cain for what he did, but before that, he gave him a chance to turn things around. Lesson number 3, we can't blame others for our mistakes. Look, it's easy to get jealous or resentful, especially when we see others getting praised or rewarded. But blaming others for our own bad behavior, that's just making excuses and avoiding responsibility. And that's what Cain did. He took his anger out on Abel, but it was his own fault. And finally, lesson no. For we have a choice, not a victim. Sometimes we might feel like life is controlling us or that we have no options. But this story shows us that even when things are really tough, we always have a choice. We can either choose to keep doing what we're doing, or we can choose to change. God gave Cain the choice to either change his behavior or face the consequences, but ultimately, it was his decision. So now I want to ask you, what choices have you been avoiding? Remember, God isn't some genie in a bottle that makes things happen because you feel like it. No, he wants you to come close to him, to talk to him, and to listen to what he has to say. He loves you, and he wants you to succeed. Okay, now I want to give you a challenge. Here's what you have to do. Find a quiet place where you can talk to God without distractions. Ask God to show you any bad habits or behaviors that you need to change. Once you identify them, ask God for help and strength to change them. Promise God that you'll do your best to follow his path. Remember, this isn't just about saying a prayer. It's about having a real conversation with God, being honest about your struggles, and asking for assistance. Trust me, he'll be there to guide you. Hey, if you like this video, share it with your friends. It could really help them out. Now here's another video that I think you'll like.